Good morning, I'm Trinity Chavez. It is Tuesday, May 2nd, and we are coming to you live from the cradle of capitalism here at the New York Stock Exchange on the corner of Wall and Broad Streets in Lower Manhattan. We have an exciting day ahead, and we're going to tell you all about it. But first, I'd like to bring in my colleague and co-host, Pete Ash, who is the head archivist here at the New York Stock Exchange. Welcome, Pete.
Good morning, Trinity. It's always great to be here above our trading floor. As you said, another exciting day here at the corner Wall and Broad. The New York Stock Exchange has the deepest pool of liquidity with over $40 trillion of market cap all happening behind us that can trade up to 2 billion shares in a single day.
Wow.
So in just a few minutes, we're going to watch the equity markets open with our bell ringers from Atlantic Union to celebrate their transfer to the New York Stock Exchange with trading starting January 18th of this year.
And after we have Atlantic Union Bank ring that opening bell, we will speak to some expert market makers and analysts to put the day's economic indicators into perspective today. And we have a lot to report on cybersecurity. But first, let's take a quick check at how the markets fared yesterday at the close. It looks like stocks fell slightly as investors prepare for the Federal Reserve's May policy meeting to kick off. The Dow fell 46 points and the S&P 500 fell about 1.5 points, while the Nasdaq dropped nearly 14 points.
That's right, and futures are sliding this morning, and we'll see how the market reacts in just a few minutes here at 9:30 when the opening bell rings.
But first, Pete, let's give our viewers a little background on Atlantic Union Bank. Atlantic Union is headquartered in Richmond, Virginia. It has about 114 branches throughout Virginia and portions in Maryland and North Carolina. And it obviously offers a wide range of financial solutions, including checking accounts, savings accounts, and business loans.
And with the archivist, you're going to get a little history. The current company originated in 1991, but really it has its roots back in 1902 with the Union Bank and Trust. And the New York Stock Exchange is the home of 87% of financials by market cap. And the NYSE also has 88% of companies from Virginia listed here right behind us. Mm-hmm. And before we open today's markets, let's look back at yesterday. Yesterday on the Bell podium, we had the 2023 NCAA National Champions in men's ice hockey, the Quinnipiac men's hockey team, also my mother's alma mater.
Oh, wow. Nice. Now we're going to switch gears a little bit as technology is rapidly evolving. Keeping your network safe is more challenging. And while we're going to have a little live conversation with a leader in the sector, last year our colleague Judy Shaw sat down with the U.S. Director of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency and had this compelling conversation. Let's take a listen.
I'm Judy Shaw for NYSE Floor Talk. Joining me today is Jen Easterly. She's the director of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. Jen, it is wonderful to have you on Floor Talk. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
So now, Jen, tell me about the agency and your role.
Yeah. So a lot of people may not have heard of CISA because we're the newest agency in the federal government. But we were actually stood up 4 years ago to be America's cyber defense agency. So our mission is to lead the national effort to understand, manage, and reduce risk to the cyber and physical infrastructure that Americans rely on every hour of every day to get gas at the pump and money from the ATM and food from the grocery store and power and water. So it's all about protecting and defending those networks and systems and data that underpin our daily lives. And it's important to remember that those network systems and data are largely not owned by the government. They're owned and operated by the private sector, and it's why coming to places like this and spending time with the private sector is so important, because it's all about collective cyber defense of our nation.
All right, now tell me, how vulnerable is the financial sector to cyber attacks?
So I think we need to keep in mind that all of infrastructure is vulnerable. We live in a highly connected world, and so given that connections, given the vulnerabilities, given those points of failure, sure, finance is very vulnerable. Vulnerable because, as the saying goes, that's where the money is. So it's a place where nation states may come after the financial sector, but it's also a place where cyber criminals and things like ransomware can come and affect how people react to having to pay a ransom. They think that, oh, finance has the money, so we can go after the financial services sector. Now, I will say, having spent 4.5 years at Morgan Stanley, I have great confidence in the security and resilience of the financial services sector, because this sector has made incredible investments in keeping the nation's financial infrastructure secure. And so while I do worry about nation state and cyber criminal actors coming after the financial services system, I also look at this sector as a model for what the other sectors should be doing in terms of investing in process and technology and people to keep everybody confident that their money is safe and secure.
Now, do you have any advice for business leaders on how they can implement better cybersecurity across their organizations?
Yes, thanks for asking that question. So first off, I think all business leaders, all CEOs need to see cyber risk as not the job of the IT people, but cyber risk as core business risk, like liquidity risk and equity risk and franchise risk. Cyber risk can have a really material impact on your business, on your reputation, and if you're part of critical infrastructure, which basically all big businesses are, could have an impact on our economic prosperity, our national security, our public health and safety. So all CEOs should treat cyber risk as a business risk, and they need to empower their chief information security officers, empower their security teams, make sure that they're not always saying security versus business. I'm going to focus on business, because oftentimes the risks out there mean that if you are prioritizing business versus security, you are undermining your ability to be able to serve your clients and serve your customers and keep their data and their money safe.
Now, why is collaboration between industry and government important for cybersecurity?
Great question. So it goes back to the point that critical infrastructure is largely owned and operated by the private sector. So this is not something that the government is going to solve. And cybersecurity, frankly, is not something that has an endpoint. This is something that we need to manage like any other risk that we're focused on reducing. And so the only way we can do this is for the government to work hand in hand with the private sector. It's why at CISA we established what's called the JCDC, or Joint Cyber Defense Collaborative. You can remember it because it's like AC/DC, but with a J. I'm a big 80s rock and roll fan, so I had to come up with something that sounded like good rock music. But essentially what it does is it brings together on one platform the entire federal government cyber ecosystem, so CISA, NSA, FBI, US Cybercom, on one platform. So you don't need a PhD in government to figure out how to interact with the government. You can come to CISA through the Joint Cyber Defense Collaborative, JCDC, and you can work with us to ensure that you can get information from us about what we're seeing from a government perspective, but oftentimes it is that private industry that is seeing malicious and suspicious activity first, because they are seeing it on their own network. So if they bring information to us, we can be responsive, we can put those pieces of the puzzle together, connect those dots, and drive down risk to the nation. It's all about collective cyber defense for our nation. So really, really important that we all embrace this and take accountability and responsibility for what we can do for national security.
All right. Well, Jen Easterly, it's been wonderful to talk with you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining
me. It's great to be here. I really appreciate it.
A lot of interesting points that she said right there. Sorry, go
Definitely, no, it's fantastic. And it's funny because she mentioned being a fan of the 1980s music, but actually, I don't know if you know this, CISA started out because in 1983 the movie War Games came out, and President Ronald Reagan watched it in the White House, and the next morning called up all of his intelligence, said, "Hey, could this actually happen?" And they said, "I don't know." And so because of that, he actually then started the precursor organization that became now a full secretary position with CISA, and now talking to us here on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange.
Oh my, isn't it funny how things go for full circle?
Yeah, definitely. And you think about that connection, right? The exchange of ideas happening here behind us every day.
Exactly. Yeah, no, definitely. And cybersecurity is really at the forefront of everything as technology is rapidly evolving. As a matter of fact, last week I was just at the RSA conference out in San Francisco, where I got to talk to, I want to say, around 65 different CEOs, co-founders, founders of cybersecurity companies about the initiatives that they're taking to kind of spearhead all the problems that we're seeing in the sector right now, because the everyday consumer wouldn't necessarily think that it impacts them necessarily. However, like you just heard, it impacts everything from purchasing groceries at the grocery store, putting an email on your phone, texting, connecting to Wi-Fi, even at a local coffee shop. I mean, that all opens up the doors for different hackers or people to have access to your information. And it was just really interesting to hear about everything that everybody had to say about the initiatives that they're taking to try to get ahead of the problem that we're seeing every single day.
Definitely, and we're hearing that from a lot of CEOs, a lot of industry leaders, across all sectors, even sectors you don't think, as you mentioned, grocery stores. You don't think about grocery stores as a place where you have, high cyber risks. But here at the New York Stock Exchange, something that we've always dealt with is how do you protect information? How do you make sure that the trading information is, on one hand, transparent, but also secure?
Yeah.
And it's always funny to think about back, we're having Atlantic Union ring the opening bell today, founded in 1902. Back when this building opened in 1903, cybersecurity in 1903 in this building was walk around the building every couple of days to make sure no one drilled holes in the wall, because people actually used to drill holes in our wall to listen into the trading information.
Wow.
And then be able to move off that information.
That is actually incredible. Like, I can't even believe the lengths that people would go to just hear what's happening on the inside. And here we are giving you all a preview of actually what happens at the exchange on NYSE TV, of course. And then, you're going to take everybody down there later when you have that conversation with a little bit of the market makers and the traders to see what the markets are doing as we ring the opening bell, opening up the U.S. equity markets, right?
Yeah, and I said that's the pinnacle of what we do here. We want to make sure we get the information out to the public, out to you all back home, but also make sure we do it fairly and that evenly, right? Anyone can tune in and watch us. Anyone can read our SIP feeds coming out, but making sure that we keep that information protected and secure really comes back to the root of what we do here every day and what you've been talking to a lot of business leaders about.
I mean, and especially all of the people that we have coming through these doors, the thought leaders, entrepreneurs, celebrities. Actually, I think we have JJ Watts here today on the floor. Actually, if we can get some pictures, we'll pull them up for you to take a look. And, he's just one of the many celebrities that have visited the New York Stock Exchange. I mean, you have actually been here a very long period. You're the head archivist. I'm sure you have many interesting stories. There he is right there. Look at that, I think he's right in front of the CNBC set, because we have a few interviews lined up for him here today.
And he's here to do what all the athletes do. Athletes want to be business leaders want to be athletes.
Yeah.
So he's here today to talk about investing he's made in the other football, in Burnley Football Club. And our colleague, Judy Shaw, who you all saw talking to Jen Eastley earlier, will be speaking to him today. And that floor talk will be out on all of our social channels later this week.
And if you're not following us already, you can tune in to all of our coverage, extended interviews, full view interviews at nysc.com and on YouTube, on Instagram, and on all the other things that are out there. Facebook, there's so many different things nowadays.
Yeah, and you never know who's going to show up here. Last week we had someone on the other side of the football, DK Metcalf, came to visit the exchange.
Yes.
But that's just in between world leaders, heads of state, as well as the CEOs that come here every day.
Exactly.
As we're going to see in just a few minutes with the opening bell.
Absolutely. And just the other week, we also covered when House Speaker McCarthy was here giving his very important address, talking about the economy and the current state of, our debt ceiling, which was very, very interesting and great to have him here. But that just speaks to the range and variety that we have here at the New York Stock Exchange. It's a pinnacle for very important topics of conversation.
It is, and it's because of the community. It's because Kevin McCarthy knew he could come here to Cornwall and Broad, connect with 30, 40 NYSE listed CEOs, talk right to that media on our trading floor and get the message out, because that's really what it is. It's an exchange of ideas, it's an exchange of people, it's an exchange of really great things. So these cybersecurity conversations, you're out in San Francisco where we also have a presence, but a lot of the stuff happens here where we'll have meetings up on our 6th and 7th floor to talk about these topics.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that we're about 30 seconds out from opening the markets. And then, Pete, you're actually going to head to the floor. Like we discussed, you're going to give us a little market update, talking to some of the traders and designated market makers. So let's listen in, and we'll be right back.
we built something truly beautiful in the true iconic notion of what America is all about.
This is our task, this is our mission. We have a clear focus and we have the ability to be agile and innovate as a young startup.
It takes years of dedication to get us to this milestone. It is all because of you.
Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. It is the only thing that ever has.
To be a woman leader, it's not so easy, but it's easy if the passion and the love is coming from your heart.
The New York Stock Exchange is the symbol of what America is all about. Potential of capitalism, the potential of an American dream.
The only way you can move a society forward is a true expression of freedom.
Welcome back. The U.S. equity markets are officially open, and we are going to get a market update in just a few moments. But first, we are going to speak to Irwan Karoudi. He is the CEO and co-founder of CyberAngels, a company specializing in protecting systems from cyber attacks. Irwan, welcome.
Hi, Trinity. Thank you for welcoming me.
Yes, absolutely. So let's first give our viewers a little bit of an overview of what your company does and how it prevents cyber attacks.
Yes, of course. So CyberAngel, it's a cybersecurity company which scan massively the entirety of the internet, and we are finding with this unique technology a ton of data leakage, and we are also able to define the attack surface of any big companies in the world to avoid hackers to get inside the company and destroy or steal everything.
And speaking of some of the biggest companies in the world, ChatGPT is taking the world by storm. It's hugely popular right now, especially as we're seeing AI technology advance. Tell me something. You just came out with a report that found some key components. Can you tell me about this and how it impacted ChatGPT?
Of course. I guess there is nobody in the world among the large companies who are not thinking about how to work with ChatGPT. And also it's going to be more and more popular with everybody in the street. Hackers understand that, and they follow the buzz, in fact. So they created a ton of fake ChatGPT app, mobile app, but also Chrome extension, in order for people to install this extension and then trick people. Just you have to know, ChatGPT, OpenAI do not have a mobile app in the world.
Okay.
But hackers create fake one, so people install them, and so they record everything people are typing on their mobile phone or on their computer.
Okay, so you're telling me that since ChatGPT, obviously you have to go to a specific website for it. There's not currently an application that ChatGPT has. So,
Exactly.
So hackers are creating fake ones out there. How do you know if it's fake or not?
Honestly, it's super tricky. It's like the phishing, when you receive some email, sometimes you say, is it a true or a fake email from IRS, for example?
Yeah.
Exactly the same with ChatGPT when you're on the store. Normally, Apple and Google are doing quite a good job to remove this app, but the hackers are going so fast, it's just kind of a race game, and it's super hard. So by design, ChatGPT do not have a mobile app. That's it. So if you download a mobile app, it may be a fake one.
Really? Okay, and tell me, how did CyberAngels find this out? How did you address it? How did you attack it?
Surprisingly, not by scanning the stores like Apple stores and Android store, but we have these huge capabilities to scan the world.
Okay.
Everything which is connected into the world. Like a little bit like Google with scanning some web pages, but CyberAngel is doing one layer down on the infrastructure of the internet.
Okay.
And trust me or not, but at one point, we found a huge database of 40 million of credentials and people. I say, what is that? And by analyzing this open server, which is fully open, we understood these credentials and information, banking information, credit card number, were coming from fake app of ChatGPT.
And how does CyberAngel deal with fake data, fake credentials found on the databases?
The credentials are not fake; they are purely true. This is this can be you, it can be mine. Again, 40 million of credentials with credit card, Facebook account, banking login.
So they're real.
Corporate login.
Okay.
Purely true one, fresh one. Even if this is super hard because even if you reset your password, you will type everything on your mobile or on your computer. The hackers will know that. and they will refresh the information. And what the hackers are doing after? They are selling this information corporate by corporate, companies by companies. Let's say, okay, I'm a state, bad state. I want to hack New York Stock Exchange. I will go on Telegram or dark web and I will order New York Stock Exchange, French credential, French login, French access to your IT infrastructure.
Okay.
To hack the company. And so you can buy that companies by company because they are stolen by this app.
Wow. So how do you get ahead of that? I mean, like we were talking about, technology, AI, rapidly expanding, changing every single day. So how does CyberAngel get ahead of that and prevent this from happening with hackers?
It's super hard. It's super challenging. It's a race. Every time hackers will invent a new way to hack people or hack companies, CyberAngel, because we are understanding and analyzing how hackers are behaving, what are their trends, and there is trends. That's true. It's like a buzz, and so we have to follow them and to adjust and understand how they behave, and so we can create new sensors to detect these new behaviors, to capture stolen information, to provide this information back to our customers. Again, largest companies in the world, like the one who are listed in the New York Stock Exchange.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Arwan, for being here today. I greatly appreciate it, and we welcome you back anytime.
Thank you, Trinity.
Right now, I'm going to toss it to my colleague, Pete Ash. He is on the floor of the trading floor. He's going to interview JJ Watt.
All right, I'm on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Now you can see behind me the traders, everything going on. And we previewed it earlier, but we got a chance to talk to JJ. JJ, first time at the New York Stock Exchange. What's it like, and what brings you down here today?
Oh, it's incredible. The energy is great. You feel like you're in the center of it all. What brings me down here is my wife and I just invested in Burnley Football Club over in England. So we're just making our way around New York City, and it's pretty incredible. I'm enjoying it.
I imagine she's going to be making most of the European football decisions on that one.
Yes, she is significantly smarter than me when it comes to European football, but we're extremely excited. We want to bring Burnley's story to America. Burnley's a very small town. Their club has been their club has been around since 1882, so we're very excited to tell America about Burnley and their rise back to the Premier League next year.
Amazing. Well, hopefully you'll bring them back here. They can ring the opening bell, but I know you have places to run, so I'll let you head off. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
You never know who you're going to run into here on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. We're going to now head over to someone who's here more often, every day actually. I'm joined by NYSE senior market analyst Michael Ranking. How you doing today?
Great, Pete. That's a tough act to follow, JJ Watt this morning. So tough act to follow.
Definitely. But tough act to follow. But the markets have been open for a couple minutes. I know you've been watching them all day, but really the bigger story is earnings season. We're about halfway through. What are you seeing?
Yeah, so we are about halfway through earnings season. Once again, I'd say the numbers have come in, better than expected. We're seeing almost 80% of companies beating estimates, by somewhere close to around 5%. Though we are still looking at kind of year-over-year numbers that are down. As we came into the earnings season, there were a couple themes that we'd been looking for. One of those big themes in terms of the mega cap tech stocks was, kind of the cost cutting measures that they'd announced over the last year really starting to come to bear fruit, and we've seen that with some of the big rallies in those stocks over the last week.
You mentioned the tech stocks. When you think tech stocks, you have to think big job cuts coming out of there. We're about 21 minutes out from the JOLTS job report, the last one for the first time since 2021. Less than 10 million jobs opening up. How is the floor prepared for that report?
Yeah, so like you said, it moved under 10 million last month. We're looking for something similar to that again. This is the last piece of big economic data ahead of the Fed meeting later this week. But I think it's really a precursor to what we're seeing on the BLS report on Friday. So over the last month or so, we've seen kind of the claims data, the initial claims data, move up by about 50,000 on average, right? So that's sort of a leading indicator in terms of jobs. And then on Friday, we're looking for potentially the first jobs report that's going to be below 200,000 since 2020.
Well, so you mentioned in that answer the Fed. That's the big thing. Tomorrow's Fed day. What are we expecting? What is the market baked in, and what is the market not prepared for?
Yeah, so at this point, it's widely expected that the Fed is going to raise 25 basis points. There's a pretty big question mark from there in terms of what the next step is. And so I think they're going to message that that they could potentially pause, but I don't think they want to necessarily kind of put that outright into the market. They also are going to look at their bank lending at the the lending survey, which is not publicly available, so they'll get an early look at that, and that'll give them a sense of how much credit conditions have tightened, given the kind of the banking crisis that we've continued to go through over the last month, and I think that is going to play a big role in terms of what they do going forward.
Thanks so much, Michael. I'll let you get back to your desk. Everyone back home, though, you want to hear more from Michael every week on social. He does his market updates, and so you can check him out at NYSE on all of our social platforms. Well, Trinity, it's been another exciting morning here in the New York Stock Exchange. How'd it go with you up there with Cyber Angel?
I mean, it went fantastic. I mean, it's definitely been a busy day here at the exchange. We had Atlantic Union Bank ringing that opening bell. We had a great conversation with Cyber Angel's CEO and co-founder about the cybersecurity sector, where the industry is going. We obviously you got to talk to JJ Watt and get that market update. So it's definitely been an eventful day. And, to all of you who are watching at home, make sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms at NYSE, and we'll catch you next time.
We'll see you soon.